good morning, folks. This is Nick Randall. I'm the life and annuity marketing guy over here at Western Marketing. Just want to thank everybody for taking time out of their schedules to hop on this call that we have today. Today, we're talking about Greek Catholic Union and their Final Expense product. It's one of the best unique products in the market. Greek Catholic Union may have not too familiar with them. They've got a great product, a great process. Today, we're lucky to have Gary Sorensen with GCU on the line with us. He'll be kind of going through the product so you guys can get a good feel for what's going on with GCU and how they are working with this Final Expense product. Just wanted to thank everybody for taking time out of their schedules here once again. Just so you know, a couple housekeeping items before we get things started is this is being recorded. So if you are hopping in late, have to jump off early, no problem. We'll have that full recorded version out for you later on today. I'll also be sending in that email some additional information about GCU, how to contract, so on and so forth. So all the imperative information you would need to know to be able to write this product as soon as possible. So with that, I'll hand things over to Gary to get things started.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Nick. My name is Gary Sorensen. I'm with GCU. I'm the Director of Sales. And I've been tapped to sit here and help you walk through this process of the Internal Advantage. It's our instant decision final expense policy that GCU is out there and offers. But I guess, before we get going too far, just who is GCU? Well, GCU is a fraternal life insurance company. We started with a mere $600 and are now worth over $2.2 billion in assets with over 45,000 members. Our roots lie in the steel mills and the coal mines of Western Pennsylvania. The whole premise behind the GCU and how it came together was that those were dangerous jobs and men died in those mines. And so the idea was to be able to create a company that would take care of the widows and their children when dangerous things happen. So just so you know, GCU is focused on Middle America. That's our roots. That's who we are. And again, we're located out in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area is where we're located. But as far as GCU is concerned as well, a fraternal benefits society offers more than just simply a great product. It actually offers some other ancillary benefits that are available to your clients. We have a scholarships for youth. We have some charitable matching donations that are out there. But one of the things that probably falls in line with the final expense policy is inside of one of our affinity programs. And that has to do with our hearing aid appointment setting and discount service. So, not only will your clients be able to get a great priced product that meets their needs, but they'll also be able to have some additional benefits because we're a nonprofit. We drive everything back into our members. So one thing that you'll hear is if you call into the home office, we do not have a phone tree where you have to push 1 or push 2. You always get a live body. So you call in to our call center, you're always going to have somebody there to be able to answer the phone. And we focus on our members. So again, just simply buying a GCU policy makes you a member of the GCU, and your clients have access to these different pieces. But let's just kind of go ahead and jump into the Internal Advantage itself, just some different product specifications. First and foremost is product availability. So the states that are in blue are the states in which GCU has the product approved and ready for sale. California is kind of that one that's lagging behind, but we continue to push forward to try to get that. And then we are working on expanding into a few other states along the way. But right now, the states in blue are the states in which we conduct business. One thing that I do want to say is as you get contracted with Western Marketing and Nick and company, I just want to make sure that if you're doing business in other states that you get pre-appointed in that state, because GCU requires that you're appointed prior to soliciting business in those other states. So just as an example, let's say that you're in Iowa and you're going to write a policy for somebody down in Missouri. You need to make sure that you're appointed in Missouri before you go out and solicit that application for those individuals. So again, make sure you're pre-appointed in all states you plan on doing business. Do it up front. It's in the contracting packet that you get, or you can give us a call after you're contracted. And if you want to add other states, we can do that and get that done. It takes about 24 hours to get that done. But let's get into the product itself and kind of what's out there as far as the product. The product issue ages are 45 to 85. And we have 3 different underwriting classes: a preferred, a standard, and a modified. All 3 of those underwriting classes have both tobacco and non-tobacco available in those. In the preferred underwriting class, we have a maximum face of $35,000, and it has a built-in, as far as if they get the preferred underwriting class, it has that built-in accelerated death benefit for terminal illness and nursing home confinement. And then we also have a Grandchild Rider, which is the cost is $2 per thousand on an annual basis per grandchild. So if you have 4 grandchild, there's 4 grandchildren to be put in there. They're buying $1,000 little term policy on each one of those kids. It's going to be $8, basically $8 over the year period. In order to make that happen. The policy fee is $40. That is commissionable during that first policy year. So again, preferred, we have both preferred tobacco and non-tobacco. Maximum face is $35,000. You have the additional accelerated death benefit rider on the policy. We go to our standard underwriting class. Again, maximum face is going to be $25,000. They only have the Grandchild Rider available on that particular on this underwriting class. And again, both tobacco and non-tobacco are available in this particular situation. Then our modified. Our modified is return of premium plus 10% during the first 3 policy years, and then it goes to that 4th year, it goes to that level benefit that was applied for. Maximum face of modified is $15,000. There's no riders available on it. And again, modified has both tobacco and non-tobacco classes as well. So those are key things to be aware of when we look at the product as it is and how it works. One of the things that sets GCU apart from all of the competitors, and it's a competitive advantage for you, is we have our irrevocable burial trust. As of right now, we are the only company that I know of in the industry that offers an irrevocable burial trust on monthly premium or flow premium policies. What does the irrevocable burial trust do? Well, basically what it does is it moves money outside of that Medicaid spend down requirement. It's actually set aside, and Medicaid can't touch that. It's completely portable in the fact that you're not hooked to one particular funeral home. You can actually use whatever funeral home that you want to. So if they happen to live in Iowa, they move to Florida, and they decide they want to get buried in Florida, they can do that. The IBT will set up and work in those particular situations. The IBT has a couple different pieces that just to be aware of is the issue ages on the IBT, the irrevocable burial trust, is age 50 to age 85. It is available for all underwriting classes, so you can use it for preferred, for standard, and the modified. So you can use it on all 3 of those instances. Some states do have a maximum amount that you can utilize in regards to face amount that you can use if you're using the irrevocable burial trust. It's typically $15,000, but in some states it's a little bit less. If a client decides they want to buy, let's say that they're in the state of Kansas and they qualify they want to buy $15,000 worth of life insurance, but they want to use the IBT, basically you'd end up having to write 2 separate policies. One policy for $7,000 where the irrevocable burial trust would be both the owner and the beneficiary, and then the remaining $8,000 would be just in their name and their named beneficiaries in that situation. You cannot commingle those funds that are in an irrevocable burial trust and a standalone policy. So again, just know that if they want to use the IBT and they want more life insurance than is available, you need to be able to go out and make sure that you're writing 2 separate policies in that particular situation. We try to make life really simple in regards to where you find everything in regards to the GCU Final Expense policy. We have a micro website. The website address is, and I'll say this probably 20 times during this presentation, it's finalexpense.gcuusa.com. There's no www in front of it. It's just finalexpense.gcuusa.com. This is where you get access to the e-application. We want everybody to use the e-application because that's what gives you that instant decision. And our instant decision right now is about 90 seconds. So we give you an answer within 90 seconds in regards to, if they're approved, if there's other, counter offers, those types of things. You find out about that all up front. And again, on that same website, if there are situations where you have no internet access, The phone doesn't work out there necessarily. Sometimes in some of those rural communities, you have some of those issues. You can take a paper application. Just know that that's not going to necessarily be a instant decision, but you can take a paper application and fax it into us in order to get it into the system to get an answer as quickly as possible. And again, e-application, that big red button on that landing page is the most important button on this website, because that's what takes you into that e-application. But before you even get into the e-application, so once you get contracted with GCU, you'll actually receive a welcome email. That welcome email will contain your agent number, which is your national producer number. So it should be pretty easy to remember. But there's very specific instructions on you have to go out and register for that e-app before you use it the first time. So it's a good idea to do that before you meet with your first client. When you get into the registration piece of it, you go to the Final Expense, GCUUSA.com. You'll enter in your email address that you use to get logged onto the system, and then you'll enter in that generic password that was found in the welcome email, which is the GCU 1892 with an exclamation point. It'll take you through the process of creating a new password just for you that's uniquely yours. We don't know what that password is. It's only your password. If you happen to forget that password, when you log on, it'll actually have a spot where you can click on forgot your password. So no different than any other financial institution or any other website that has password protection. It sends you the email in order to recreate that password to be able to get into it. So that's the key to be able to get into that e-app. So let's say we've gotten into the e-app, we've registered, we're ready to meet with our very first client. What are we going to do? Well, once we get logged in, there's a few questions on this dashboard that we have to deal with. First one is the state in which we're going to be taking the application. Then we put in the client's date of birth. And then the agent account information is going to be pre-populated because you've already gone out and registered with that information. So then we just kind of click on add new e-app, and it takes us right into this process. The process itself is of 14 steps. They're on the left-hand side. As each step is completed, that blue circle turns to a green circle with a white check mark, which means it's completed and in good order. We do have, we've tried to help as much as possible as far as highlighting the specific fields that must be completed. They are highlighted in yellow. It's kind of pale. I'm not sure if you'll see it on the screen, but when you go to the e-app, it'll be highlighted. So, that first screen is, making sure that both you and the client acknowledges that this is a life insurance sale and is designed for final expense. We're going to ask for the client's name and their gender in order to move forward. Then we actually jump right into our knockout questions. And our knockout questions are basically, if you answer yes to one of these knockout questions, they're automatically going to be taken to the end of the application and signed out. You'll have to probably go to a guaranteed issue. But again, the key thing with our knockout questions is you need to make sure that you kind of look at the time horizon. So have you ever been in the past 12 months? So you need to make sure that you're asking those questions. If they've answered no to all of these questions, then we move on to that next step. That next step is where we start gathering more client information. We ask for the social security number. We ask for, a state ID of some sort or a driver's license. Now, one thing I will say is that one of our not in good order, one of the biggest snafus that we have, our social security numbers are entered incorrectly. I've had a couple times where I've had a Gladys applying for a policy and it came back as a Robert. And I know that was Gladys that we were talking to. So you need to make sure that you have the right social security number, because that will kick the policy out, and you won't be given that instant decision or be able to move forward. We'll have to give you a call to get that all put together. One thing I do want to point out as well is the annual income. We do require that the minimum household income is $10,000. Again, that's household income of $10,000 in order to be able to write the policy. So you're aware of that particular piece. We're going to ask for the city in which the client was born, their current address, and a phone number. One of the things that we are required to do as a financial institution is a know your customer. And so what we do is we end up doing a background check, making sure that social securities match, but the person that you're talking to is the person that say they are on the application. So it's for your protection, it's for the client's protection, but it's a federal regulation that we have those things. So we have to ask those questions in order to be able to move forward. And again, those are highlighted fields, those are mandatory fields that must be completed. And so you have to make sure you have the right information in there. Now we jump into our modified questions. Our modified questions are where we're going to ask for the name of their personal physician or healthcare provider or medical group. A walk-in clinic does not count. So we actually need to have a physician that they meet with. We need the city and the zip code of where they are and the last date that they actually went and met that physician for more than just simply a cut or a scrape in which they had all their vitals taken. We'll also put in the information as far as their height, and note that feet and inches are two separate fields. I've had people get those little dyslexia kicked in, and they've been 1 inch 6 feet, or 6 inches 1 foot tall, or 1 foot 6 inches tall. So that causes a little bit of havoc as well. So just make sure that you're reading the application carefully as you're going through it, that you're making sure that those fields are there. And again, feet and inches are in two separate places. This is where we also ask about if they're a tobacco user in one way, shape, or form. And then we get into the actual modified questions. If they answer yes to one of these modified questions, they could potentially still qualify for modified underwriting. If they answer yes to two of these questions, they're going to be a decline, and you'll be taken to the end of the application where the client will sign, you will sign, and we'll move forward from there. But again, those modified questions, you need to be aware of the time horizon. There's a 5-year time horizon, there's a 2-year and a 3-year time horizon. So you're aware of all those different pieces. If they've answered, let's just as an example here, we move forward. So if they've answered no to all these questions, we actually get into our health questions. So our health questions, if they answer yes to one of the health questions, they potentially could still qualify for a standard underwriting class. So a big one that sits out there is COPD. If they have COPD and no other underlying conditions prior to the underwriting, they could potentially still qualify for a standard underwriting class. So those are key things to be aware of as far as when we go through all these. Again, notice on the left-hand side, as I've completed each section, it turns to a green circle with a white check mark. That means it's in good order and I can move forward to the next step, because if you missed a question, it's going to kick you out or take you back to that question to make sure that you have that answered and in there correctly. Then we jump in and we start asking for that owner information. If the owner is the same as the insured, it will automatically populate all that information. If the owner is not, then you actually have a drop-down box, and it lets you choose, who that policy owner is, whether it's you're using the GCU Irrevocable Burial Trust, which will populate all the information, or maybe if it's a spouse or a child, then you'll enter in their information in regards to that. The key thing, again, with the IBT is you need to make sure that those issue ages are 50 to age 85, and the trust must be not only the owner of the policy, they must be the beneficiary of the policy in order for it to escape the Medicaid spend down piece of that. Then we get into actually the beneficiaries. You can list up to 6 beneficiaries online. Those beneficiaries, you're going to ask for first name, last name, their date of birth, and the relationship and the percentage share. Now, one thing is we do have a field in here asking for a Social Security number. If you do not know the Social Security number, please leave that blank. Do not put zeros in there. Do not put ones in there. Do not put all 9s in there. Please just leave it blank. If your client does not know those numbers, please do not put anything in there. If that causes it to get kicked out and referred to our underwriters, and they'll be making a phone call to you to try to make sure that things are correct on the application. So again, only focus on the application fields that are highlighted in order to move forward. In some situations, there are contingent beneficiaries. Sometimes there is, sometimes there's not. So if there is a contingent beneficiary, you can add up to 6 contingent beneficiaries. If not, it's already green circled, white check mark. You can move to the next field in order to move forward to the next step. Then we actually get into the premium calculation aspect of it. So that premium calculation is where we're actually going to go in and ask for the face amount that they're applying for and the payment frequency. Are they going to do it on a monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual basis? We're going to ask if they're going to utilize the Grandchild Rider. If they're going to ask the Grandchild Rider, there are a couple little drop-down health questions that are asked at that point in time, and then you can get a quick quote calculated right there, assuming, again, we're going to go out and assume that it's a preferred underwriting class when we do that quote. Right now, just a little snippet, about 70% of all the applications that are coming in that are underwritten come in as preferred. So that's a pretty good ratio that you'll get into that preferred class based on that information. We'll get into the required NIC questions in regards to policy replacement. All right, and this is an important piece, because this is where we can catch those clients that are just kind of shopping around, because we use MIB when we go out and start looking at the underwriting process. That MIB is basically that clearinghouse of insurance information to let us know if people have applied for insurance in other places and have been declined. So, I've had a situation where I've had somebody who was declined 7 different times with the MIB. That's an issue. That's somebody that's just shopping in that situation, and they would not be underwritable in an underwritten policy. They'd probably have to go to a guaranteed issue. So just be aware of the fact that when you're answering these questions, that we're making sure that the client is being honest with you in regards to if they've applied for insurance in any other places. Then we jump into our actual agent certification. This is an important piece, because this is where you input your information. They're not all no questions. They're not all yes questions. So I do ask that you become familiar with them as you read through these. So again, did you provide a copy of the privacy notice? The privacy notice is found on our website, Final Expense, GCUUSA.com. You can email that to the client. Then it's going to also ask, the policy is always going to be mailed directly to the client. We do not send it to you as the agent. We send it directly to the client to be delivered for the delivery aspect of it. And then we ask for your agent phone number. So one of the things that sets GCU apart from some of the competition is we do not do a follow-up phone call with the client. So when you answer the health questions on here, we're not having an outside service call in and ask those exact same questions. It's a one and done in this particular situation. If we do have questions in regards to a policy, we call you the agent. We do not call the client. So we're leaning on you to be able to help us get that information and get that done correctly. Then we actually jump into the payment mode for this aspect. We only do EFT from checking and savings accounts. The client can choose a specific date of the month, day of the week, or based on policy issue. Now, we do not follow Social Security payment exactly. If a date falls over a weekend, Social Security pays on the Friday, we actually pull on the following Monday. So just be aware of that. If you have clients that are using their Social Security, just make sure that you know that GCU does it the following business day if it falls over the weekend. Routing number and checking account number are really keys in order to make sure that the policy gets issued and put into effect. This is our number one NIGO, not in good order. The routing numbers are put incorrectly, account numbers put in incorrectly, and that causes a whole lot of headache, because when GCU actually pays commission upon approval, not upon issue. So you could result in a chargeback to you in that particular situation. And so, just so we have about 33% of the applications come back to us where there's bad banking information. That's a pretty big number. So those are things to really be aware of when we look at, getting that correct information in there, because what that does is that ensures that you get paid and that business is placed, and we're not having to do chargebacks and deal with those things. So again, the importance of having that correct ABA number or routing number and the account number are really critical. And again, they have to be from a checking or a savings account only. Once you get this all completed, if the client is sitting in front of you, it brings up the tablet signing. We're actually able to sign it on the mouse or using a tablet, where you can actually do it right on the page right there, or you can do an email signature. And where we'll send a little DocuSign out to the client. They'll sign it, come back to you, the agent, you sign it, and then you move forward from there. And then, so, we're going again. This is just a demonstration. You'll actually click on the page where you sign for the insured. The insured will sign, will type in their name, the date in which that happens, and then you, the agent, will sign it at that point in time. They'll agree to all of the disclosure in regards to the HIPAA form and all the things that go along with that. And then we'll actually go out and do the submit it to our underwriting process. Again, our underwriting process is we go out and do a MIB hit, and then we actually go out and do a script check. That script check has about 1,500 rules in place and growing. Those scripts let us know kind of what the underwriting results will be. What happens is when it comes back, it gives us a decision. That decision is going to be one of three things. It's going to be approved as applied for, it's going to be a counter offer, or it's going to be a decline. If it is a counter, so if it is approved as applied for, you're good to go, it's done. If it's a counter offer, you're going to come back and you're going to get a amendment right on the e-application for that particular change, and your client will sign it at that point in time. They'll do electronic signature at that time in order to accept it, in order to move forward. And of course, there's a decline, you're done right there on the spot as well. So again, it comes back in those 1 or 3 items there. Again, the approved as applied for, a counter offer, or a decline in the way that comes back. So again, just key things to remember when you're meeting with the client. You know, our underwriting book is really a key component because, as you know, with Final Expense, the ability to do field underwriting is really important. So you have to make sure that you're reading that field underwriting guide. Make sure that you're licensed in all the states in which you plan on conducting business. Make sure that you have the correct Social Security number. If you have the beneficiary, it's great. If you don't put it down. Make sure you get a copy of a voided check so you get that correct routing number and account number. Make sure that the doctor's practice that they've seen within the past 12 months, walk-in clinics don't count. Policies get printed and mailed out, and policies are not printed and mailed out until the policy is funded. And then again, they're directly sent out to the client. So those are some key things to remember in regards to this, and those are really the hot points in order for us to get the policy issued and up and running. So we actually get out and you know, as I talked about, the underwriting guide is what it is and where it's at. That can be found again out on our website, finalexpense.gcuusa.com. It's not behind a firewall. You can actually pull it up on your phone, you can pull it up on your computer, you can be able to see it. On the left-hand side of that page in the gray section, you actually have a bunch of the agent resources where you can get in and get a client brochure that you can leave behind with the client. So let them know exactly what they purchased to remind them of what they bought. But probably the most important piece that sits out there is the underwriting guide. The underwriting guide is going to give you the basics of the product, which I went over here briefly. It's going to give you that build chart, the minimum and maximum weights for those particular individuals, as well as a list of some of the uninsurable conditions. Again, this is not a complete list. We have a more robust list inside of that guide. It's a 19-page guide that really helps you walk through that process. One of the things we've also done to try to help you in your field underwriting is to be able to actually have some different medical conditions and let you know if they're even going to be underwritable. So, you know, here's an example where we see the COPD on the top left-hand side here. In the lighter blue box, this is a possible standard death benefit. We have also the list of medications. Those medications are actually broken down based on the impairment, but you can actually kind of see, you know, what potential underwriting may happen based on the medications that they're taking at that time. So, you know, again, that 19-page PDF, you know, download it onto your computer. If you can get it in paper form, whatever you can do, get your hands on that, because that is going to be your Bible in regards to being able to get the policy underwritten in the best possible sense. We also have the ability to have our irrevocable burial guide agent guide out there. So again, this gives you just some basic information. If you've never used an IBT, I will tell you the persistency in IBT is off the charts. It actually is the most persistent business that we have on the books. It also tells you, again, per state. So if you live in one you're resident in one state, you're right in another, you want to make sure that that's there. You can see that, as well as copies of the actual trust itself. So you can see the actual document itself. And again, you can download it right from that spot. On this same microsite, the Final Expense, GCUusa.com, you actually have access to the agent portal. The agent portal is you're going to be your one-stop shop where you're going to find everything in regards to your commissions, your copies of the policies. You're going to get lapse notices, so you know policies that may potentially be lapsing, all those different pieces. In order to get access to that agent portal, you're going to actually receive a second email. So once you're contracted, that first contract that you receive gives you your agent number and then also walks you through the process to get into the e-application. The second email that you receive from GCU is going to get you into the agent portal. And again, that agent portal is going to ask you for some basic information, your agent number, last four, your social security number. It lets you set your password. Again, if you forget your password, it's 24/7 self-service. You can get it all put back together. You get the email and get that password up and running. And again, that agent portal allows you to see, the documents in regards to, what your daily commission is with a monthly statement associated with it. It's going to let you be able to pull out copies of clients' applications as well as a copy of their entire policy as well. There's going to be lapse notices that'll be put out there, so you can do some preventive work if you need to in order to make sure that that business stays on the books. You don't get any chargebacks. So those are really key components to kind of get into that particular piece. GCU is again located out in the eastern time zone. Like I said, near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're there till 7 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday, till 5 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Our number is the 855-306-0608. You can also drop us an email. Again, we pride ourselves in actually not having a phone tree. So when you pick up the phone, you're going to get a live body to be able to help you and answer your questions. And with that is the bulk of my presentation, Nick. I also have just online, just so everybody knows, I have our chief underwriter, Bill Sherlock, is on the phone with us as well. So if you have any questions, Bill's here to help answer any of those underwriting questions. So Nick, I'm going to turn it back over to you to see if there's any questions out there that we need to address.
Yeah, so actually the first question, and if the applicant hasn't seen a doctor in the past 12 months, they aren't eligible?
This is Bill. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sure can.
Yeah, great. So 12 months and over is for 70 and plus applicants only. So what we would like them to have is a physical of some sort to show that they have medical care. So in this day and age with the COVID going on, a lot of folks don't get to their doctor, but if they've had some communication with them, if they've taken medication and had a televisit or a phone conversation, and they've had some interaction with the doctor to understand that there's nothing medically wrong with them other than what they've admitted on the app and our rules have addressed, then we're okay. We don't want somebody that's 75 years old that hasn't seen a doctor in 10 or 12, 13 years and then apply for our life insurance with us. We want to make sure that they have established medical care and understand what their conditions are.
Okay, perfect. As far as COVID guidelines, how are you guys with COVID right now?
Right. So for right now, the questions that we have on our applications are the ones that we ask. Some of those questions do involve some of the COVID symptoms. Okay, so what we're trying to do is not allow to have a health statement. So therefore, what we're doing is asking that they don't push out the issue date more than 30 days. And that's where we're getting around any kind of a COVID situation with, delivery and asking additional medical questions.
Okay. What about if somebody had COVID in the past? Let's just say it was like 6 months ago. Are you guys having an issue with those cases?
If they had it and they're fully returned back to normal and can answer the questions on the application, then we're okay. But if they have had COVID and there's in this situation lingering, ongoing respiratory concerns, then they wouldn't be eligible.
Okay, perfect. Another question, just kind of on the process inside. Can we take an app over the phone and have a phone app and then use email signature?
You kind of broke up there for just a second, Nick. So the question, let me repeat the question. So can they take a application over the phone?
Yeah, and have an e-sign or possibly voice signature. I'm not sure exactly what the question. The question came in is, can we take app over the phone and have email, and can we have phone app and use email signature?
Voice signature, we're not set up yet for voice signature. We can do the email signature in order to make that work.
Right. Okay. But primarily, you guys want the e-applications and the instant decision, obviously within about 90 seconds, typically speaking.
That is correct.
Right.
Right. And once a client is approved for insurance, is membership in GCU automatic, or is there another fee?
It's automatic. There's no fee associated with it. Just simply owning the policy makes you a member of the GCU.
Perfect. All right. So I think that kind of covers it as far as questions right now. Certainly, if there are other questions, you guys are free to give us a call here at Western Marketing. Our number is 800-852-7152. And obviously, you can see their phone number out on the screen for GCU. If you hopped in late to this webinar, it was recorded, so we'll be sending out a recorded version here later on today when that becomes available, as well as more information about how to contract with GCU, and certainly look forward to any calls we can help you out with in the meantime. But with that, I think that kind of takes care of things. So thanks so much for all your help, Gary, on this presentation. Definitely appreciate everybody taking time out of their schedules here, and you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you, everybody. Good selling.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.